Leonardo was a successful entrepreneur, born and raised in Turin. He had been married to Alessandra for 12 years. His life seemed to be a portrait of perfect balance between career and family. He had a solid company behind him and a charming wife, and Leonardo believed he had realized all his dreams. He and Alessandra were a couple admired by all, always present in the most exclusive salons of the city. She, with her innate elegance, was the ideal complement to Leonardo's success. But as often happens, perfection was only an illusion. Before continuing, subscribe to our channel and activate the bell. One autumn day, Leonardo received a call from his manager informing him of an unexpected business trip. The destination was Genoa to discuss a new acquisition. Without batting an eyelid, Leonardo quickly packed his bags and boarded the train that would take him to Liguria. The business meeting was to take place in a luxury hotel located on the city's waterfront. Leonardo was used to staying in places like that, but this trip gave him a strange sense of uneasiness, as if something in his life was no longer under his control. When he arrived at the hotel, he was greeted by the team that would be handling the negotiations. But on the afternoon of the second day, taking advantage of a break, he decided to explore the hotel. He felt the need to relax, have a coffee, and look at the sea, trying to push away his confused thoughts. Walking through the corridors of the hotel, Leonardo heard a familiar laugh coming from one of the most remote rooms. He stopped, trying to understand if it was just an illusion. Instead, it was the laughter of Alessandra, his wife. But how could she be there? Alessandra was in Turin busy with her work. He followed the voice, passing through a series of stairs that seemed to narrow as he approached. Finally, reaching a half-open door, he saw what he never wanted to see. Alessandra sitting at a table, chatting happily with a man. The man, brown-haired and distinguished-looking, sat next to her with obvious intimacy. Their hands were touching and their attitude left no room for doubt. Leonardo remained there, frozen, feeling the world collapse around him. He remained still for a moment, gripped by anger and despair. His heart was pounding as he tried to decide whether to face the situation immediately or retreat. Finally, without making a sound, he slowly walked away, returning to his room. Sitting on his bed, he stared into space, wondering how he had missed the signs. How long had this relationship been going on? Who was this man? 1,000 questions assailed him, but one certainty emerged clearly. His marriage, which he had always thought was perfect, was now in pieces. Leonardo spent the night sleepless, tormented by thoughts. In the morning, without even attending the scheduled business meetings, he left the hotel and went to a bar on the seafront. He decided to call his best friend Marco, the only one he felt he could talk to. "Marco, I saw Alessandra yesterday," Leonardo began, his voice shaking. "She was here, in Genoa, with another man. I saw them together. They were very close." On the other end of the line, there was a moment of silence before Marco answered, "Are you sure about what you saw?" "Absolutely," Leonardo replied, trying to remain calm. "There's no doubt about it. It was her." Marco, with his usual wisdom, tried to calm him down. "Go back to the hotel, find out more. Don't do anything rash. There might be an explanation." Although skeptical, Leonardo decided to follow his friend's advice. Back at the hotel, Leonardo watched Alessandra during breakfast, as she chatted amiably with the man he had seen the day before. He couldn't take his eyes off them. When the man walked away, Leonardo decided it was time to act. "Alessandra," his voice broke the silence of the hall. She turned, pale, surprised to see him there. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his voice shaking. "Who was that man?" Leonardo asked, holding back his anger. Alessandra looked down. "His name is Andrea. We've known each other for a few months." The truth hit him like an avalanche. "Months? How long have you been lying to me?" Leonardo asked, feeling his heart tighten in his chest. Alessandra tried to explain, but every word seemed empty. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this," she admitted. "Our marriage isn't what it used to be, Leonardo." Alessandra's words hit him like a punch. He had thrown himself body and soul into his work, thinking that it would secure both their futures, but in doing so, he had lost sight of what really mattered. "And you thought the solution was to cheat on me?" he asked bitterly. Alessandra remained silent, unable to answer. Leonardo took a deep breath, knowing that their life together would never be the same again. Without another word, he turned and left the hotel, leaving behind the pain and his wife's useless explanations. He wandered the streets of Genoa for hours, feeling empty. Every memory of his marriage, of the happy moments he had spent with Alessandra, seemed to belong to another life. He stopped in a small square where a musician was playing a melancholic melody on his guitar. The sound brought him a moment of peace, a breath of fresh air in the midst of the emotional storm that was overwhelming him. He picked up the phone and called Marco again. He needed a friendly voice. "Don't let anger guide your decisions," Marco advised him. "Take some time, go back to Turin and think about it." Marco's words stuck in Leonardo's mind. Maybe it was really time to slow down and find himself, before even thinking about what to do with the marriage. He decided to go home, but with the awareness that nothing would ever be the same again. In the months that followed, Leonardo tried to find a balance. He devoted himself to work as usual, but he soon realized that this would not solve his problems. He then decided to take a break, stepping away from business and traveling throughout Italy. During one of these trips in a small coastal town, Leonardo met Chiara, the owner of a bookstore. She was a simple and passionate woman who had left Rome to live a quiet life, dedicating herself to books. With Chiara, everything seemed natural. There were no expectations or pressures, just the joy of living in the moment. In the days that followed, they spent a lot of time together, talking about literature and philosophy, laughing at little anecdotes of everyday life. Chiara helped him see things differently, to rediscover the beauty of the little things he had neglected for years. Over time, Leonardo began to feel at peace again. He had finally let go of the past and opened himself to a new possibility. A year later, Leonardo and Chiara found themselves planning a small business together, a bookstore with a cafe on the waterfront. It wasn't anything grand, but it represented the new chapter of their life, a chapter made of simplicity and true love. Watching the sunset with Chiara at his side, Leonardo felt light again. The past was now a distant memory, and in front of him was a future full of promise. He had found not only love, but also himself. Did you like this story? Leave a comment below. Thanks for watching the video till the end, and see you next story.